Well, they say emotions get connection into motion. So every congregation, be it virtual or physical, hence becomes an occasion to emotionally connect with you all and use it as an opportunity to entertain you with our ideas and, in a way, get inspired with each other. A very, very, very good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I am Shikha, your host, and on behalf of Aujas, I would like to extend the warmest welcome to everyone for your participation and presence in this, may I say, the landmark event to unveil Aujas's next generation cyber defense center. Well, we would like to thank you for gifting your time to us and thank you very, very much for being a part of this event virtually. It's time that I quickly take you all through some quick hygiene announcements. So here it goes. For all the inquisitive minds, make sure that you make good use of the Q&A tab that you see on your screens there. We will be happy to answer your questions live and have a look at the agenda to see what next is coming up. Please stay tuned. Well, we have an esteemed panel of speakers lined up to enlighten you with actionable insights, perspectives, and solutions on cybersecurity. Please brace yourselves as we welcome our first speaker, Dr. N. Muralidharan, the Managing Director and CEO of NSE IT Limited. Well, he has, ladies and gentlemen, over 30 plus years of experience as an IT professional in the financial services sector. Well, prior to this, as the CEO of NSE Infotech Services, the captive IT services unit of NSE, he was responsible for the IT strategy, planning, software development, IT services of the exchange IT ecosystem, and vendor management of the exchange. Let me humbly invite Dr. N. Muralidharan to kickstart the event with a warm welcome note.
A warm welcome to all of you on this event to launch the Cyber Defense Center of Aujas Cybersecurities. For me, it is a dream come true. 5 years back, I was sitting in Delhi with some of the cyber guardians of this country. They were asking me, NSE is managing the largest technology center for the capital market of this country. Why don't NSE look at setting up a cyber defense center for managing the critical infrastructure of this country? That is how the whole journey started, and today it is a culmination of 5 years' effort in terms of launching this. Let me do some quick introduction for the day. First, let me do introduction on NSE. NSE doesn't need any introduction to the audience. NSE is the largest stock exchange in this country. NSE is known for its electronic revolution in this country. Also, I'm very happy to update, for the last 2 years, NSE has been the largest derivative exchange in the world in terms of number of contracts. NSE IT is a step-down subsidiary of NSE, and it is focused on digital transformation, cybersecurity, and digital examination. To add to our strength, we bought Aujas Cybersecurity in the year 2019. We primarily brought this company for its capabilities in cybersecurity. Let me quickly introduce the two guests for today. Mr. Vikram Limaye, MD and CEO of National Stock Exchange, and Dr. Gulshan Rai, who is the first Director General of Certain and also a member of cybersecurity team in PMO. Also, we have a very interesting panel of cyber experts from international community, and they will be talking about digital transformation and the effect of cybersecurity on digital transformation. Let me quickly talk about digital trends and the cybersecurity trends. The World Economic Forum is calling this industrial revolution as the fourth industrial revolution. This is triggered by 4 vectors. One is the digital transformation and digitization. This is getting complicated with the introduction of fintech innovations. The fintech innovations include your blockchain, APIification, RPA and IPA developments, and also artificial intelligence and machine learning triggered analytics. This is throwing more and more personal data into the common space. The second one is the 5G is getting introduced everywhere. IoT devices are joining the party, and that is throwing more and more personal data into the cyberspace. And this has triggered a lot of cyber attacks across the country, across the world. And there are three kinds of cyber attacks which is happening. Between countries, cyber cold war is happening. We have seen some of the attacks, whatever has happened into some of our critical installations. The second one is artificial intelligence and machine learning is used by the cyber thieves for attacking all the installations and siphoning our personal data. Also, communication is getting weaponized. And this will be triggered by a small email coming to you, and the moment you click that email, it will transfer your complete personal data into the hands of the cyber thieves. So it is critical that we introduce cyber trust to encourage digital transformation in the industry. And it is the responsibility of all the cyber guardians to create this and manage this space. Now, the critical question before all of us: can an organization do it alone? Can they do it in isolation from the entire universe? The answer is no. This is going to be the world of partnership, collaboration, and platform. This Cyber Defense Center of Aujas is one of the efforts towards creating a platform to identify the digital assets of a company deployed in the cyberspace, give up monitoring, give, detect, and protect facilities for our customers. I'm very happy to say that this is our second Cyber Defense Center. The first one is in Bangalore. And we are in the process of creating one more Cyber Defense Center in Saudi. The fourth one is planned in US. There are going to be experts sitting across the globe monitoring all the digital assets of our customers and giving them protection. In addition, what we are doing is we are creating a fusion engine using artificial intelligence and machine learning, which will be continuously monitoring this cyberspace and give you 4 warnings in terms of what are the possible threat vectors that can come and hijack your systems. And this is going to help the customer in a long way. And this is one of its kind and one of its efforts towards protecting the digital assets of all our customers. Once again, a warm welcome to this event. Sit back and enjoy the event. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. N. Muralidharan, for your kind gesture and those words that you just said. Well, moving ahead with the session, ladies and gentlemen, we have with us Mr. Vikram Limay. Well, he'll be sharing expert insights on the topic cybersecurity for the capital market ecosystem during his keynote address and announce the inauguration of Aujas Cyber Defense Center. Well, this is something we are absolutely looking forward to. But before that, let me tell all of you that Mr. Vikram Limay is the Managing Director and CEO of the National Stock Exchange of India Limited, that's NSE. Well, he's a veteran in the banking industry, as we know, with over 25 years of experience working with financial institutions, global investment banks, international commercial banks, and global accounting firms at the same time. Well, he's also the chairman of the working committee and director on the board by the international industry body, the World Federation of Exchanges. Let me invite Mr. Vikram Limay.
Good morning and a very warm welcome to all of you, and thank you for coming to this event. I extend my personal greetings to the keynote speakers, Dr. Muralidharan, Dr. Gulshan Rai, Samir Shelke, and to all the fellow participants. This is an important event as the capital market ecosystem seeks ways to secure itself from cybersecurity breaches and risks. The capital market is a key growth driver of our national economy, And in light of becoming a $5 trillion economy, it is critical to strengthen this space. The proliferation of digital platforms has led to a rapid surge in vulnerabilities, leading to exponential growth in cyber risks. These risks can lead to costly breaches and impact brand equity and reputation. According to a study published by Aujas and the World Federation of Exchanges, over half of the world's securities exchanges were the subject of cybersecurity attacks last year. Cyber risk is one of the top threats to financial markets today. There are enough examples of cyber incidents, from financial data breaches at large MNC companies to high-profile incidents in banks, stock exchanges, and government systems. The cost of such events is immense, and the damage to public trust and confidence is significant, as cyber incidents could potentially undermine the integrity of global financial markets. Global capital markets are at risk of market manipulation, financial fraud, and denial of service attacks, as seen recently across the globe. Today, the security of financial services is at crossroads. Protecting the security of customers, businesses, and stakeholders has never been more challenging. Capital market firms function in a highly regulated and competitive market. There is a need to establish next-generation cybersecurity framework and that allows comprehensive monitoring and response for risk-free operations and business continuity. Without a strong security governance to gain total clarity of cyber threats and risks, it is difficult to make informed decisions on changing regulations or complex threat vectors. Enabling such governance can be challenging for organizations that leverage legacy security frameworks and siloed security controls. This traditional approach needs to change. A comprehensive cybersecurity framework is critical for capital market firms to grow and prosper in a hyper-connected world. Be it commercially sensitive information, intellectual property, business intelligence, or customer data, securing these is crucial for business continuity. An integrated approach to cybersecurity can bring in trust, enabling firms to win the business confidence of stakeholders, investors, and customers. Firms will also be able to manage most perceivable risks, such as regulatory, operational, or cyber risks, which might increase due to exponential growth in trade volumes and data exchange. The approach must be an effective combination of specialized capabilities to ensure governance, mitigate risk, and meet compliance. Managing cybersecurity in the digital age necessitates a comprehensive blueprint to meet 4 key mandates: increasing customer expectation to protect their data within the digital ecosystem, improving cyber resilience due to expansion of advanced threats, meeting regulatory and compliance expectations by protecting consumer interests, and securing brand reputation by mitigating internal and external breach risks. The capital markets ecosystem needs to invest in a comprehensive set of cyber risk management capabilities that cover the entire value chain and ensure that the risk is efficiently managed across the ecosystem. They need to define their cyber risk appetite by well-articulated security mission statements and well-defined metrics. Capital market players must recognize it is suboptimal to deal with cyber attacks in silos. We must adopt a common set of standards to continually strengthen security governance, security policies, processes, and systems to keep pace with changing attack vectors and risks. Industry participants must work together to standardize approaches and frameworks to security risks. Over the past few years, national authorities, standard-setting bodies, and private sector organizations have launched initiatives to address cyber risk and increase the cyber resilience of the capital markets and the industry. Organizations like Aujas have published joint working papers with the World Federation of Exchanges and issued multiple other recommendations on cybersecurity. Aujas has even formed a cyber task force to raise awareness on cybersecurity and encourage the adoption of best practices amongst the Aujas regulatory community. Even Indian regulators such as SEBI and RBI are very focused on these concerns. They have proposed and mandated comprehensive guidelines on data security, electronic banking, technology risk management, and frauds for cyber resilience. Trust is the bedrock of capital markets, and regulators are demanding a focused attention on this matter. Regulators expect capital market firms to improve privacy protection for customers, who in turn are demanding that their data and information be protected across digitally accessible products and services. Security cannot take a backseat anymore. It must be embedded into strategic decision making and driven by a well-governed risk management approach across the enterprise. It should be intelligent and agile to identify complex threats. Last but not the least, it should be resilient and scalable to minimize disruptions while driving business growth. Cyber resilience is essential to secure the capital market ecosystem and help the Indian economy promote growth and competitiveness. Our dream of a $5 trillion economy must be driven by addressing challenges such as data privacy, data security, IP protection, and ensuring a secure free flow of information. With an increase in the adoption of remote access due to the pandemic, businesses must factor in greater cyber risks. Large-scale remote access by businesses has led to attacks that target remote workers, including fake requests, phishing emails, fake sign-in pages, etc. The freedom at which these attacks are carried out must be mitigated. A cyber defense capability must be able to take on any machine or man-made cyber attack. We should develop enough cyber deterrence to take on cyber-enabled warfare and not hesitate to engage with national, regional, or global regulators to counter these malicious actors. There are three things that every company in the ecosystem must do to manage cyber risk. One, effective governance. Effective governance is at the heart of any effective cybersecurity framework and is needed for every organization. It is important that the senior management and the board are closely involved in monitoring governance. It is of paramount importance for the effectiveness of the cybersecurity framework and will also help to focus attention, determine risk appetite, and allocate the necessary resources to deal with this important task at hand. Two, adopt global best practices. Another key need is to follow global industry standards such as the National Institute of Standards and Technology, NIST, cybersecurity framework. The framework enables organizations, regardless of size, degree of cybersecurity risk, or sophistication, to apply the principles and best practices of risk management to improve the security and resilience of critical infrastructure. Following an existing cybersecurity framework, such as that prescribed by NIST or SEBI guidelines, helps market participants to take steps and keep up with the accelerating pace at which cyber threats are evolving. Three, partner with niche cybersecurity companies. Given the skill and expertise gap, it is critical to engage with the right security partner. Aujas Cybersecurity, which is now part of the NSE family, offers a unified approach to cybersecurity. Its next generation cyber defense center is the new nerve center of security and enables the alignment of people, processes, and technologies, and is the center of excellence in security. In concluding, in the constantly evolving capital and fintech market participants and regulators alike must regularly adapt and respond to new challenges. Cybersecurity is arguably one of the most critical challenges facing market participants and regulators today. But it is a challenge that must be dealt head-on with strategic focus and commitment. For where there is a will, there is a way. I wish you the very best and thank you all for your participation. I am happy to now officially declare the Aujas Cyber Defense Center open, and now request Dr. Muralidharan to inaugurate Cyber Defense Center. Thank you very much.
just have to say this one thing. What a beautiful vibe watching this. Well, thank you so much, Mr. Vikram Lemay, for the wonderful keynote, and of course, Dr. Murli, Mr. Naveen, and others for inaugurating the Cyber Defense Center. From wherever we are sitting, I'm sure let's bring up some very, very enthusiastic round of applause. Remember, we are watching the vibes. So on that note, moving on, we have with us, ladies and gentlemen, an esteemed speaker who really needs no introduction. Well, join me in welcoming Dr. Gulshan Rai. Ladies and gents, he was, in fact, the first National Cybersecurity Coordinator for the Office of the Prime Minister of India. He also authored India's first cybersecurity policy and served on the expert committee on data protection. Well, he's also worked to establish India's national watch and alert system as part of country's cybersecurity initiative. He is indeed iconic. Well, he's also led various international delegations, developed national policy documents, and has been the brain behind several nationwide technology missions. Well, yes, including the National Knowledge Network project. Well, let me invite Dr. Gulshan Rai to share his thoughts on the top 5 cybersecurity trends in the fintech industry. Over to you, Dr. Rai.
Mr. Vikram Lemay, the MD and CEO of the National Stock Exchange, Dr. Muralidharan, the Chairman of Aujas and the MD and CEO of NSE-IT, Naveen, the director, full-time director at the Aujas, participants, good morning to all of you. It's really a pleasure to be on the dais along with Mr. Vikram Lemay and Mr. Murli, who are well known in the financial sector and the capital markets there. They have done a fantastic job and dealing with the issues on day-to-day basis. Both are technical and financial nature on day-to-day basis there. Friends, digital transformation is a buzzword today. One of the positive outcomes of the pandemic is to accelerate the digital transformation, not only in India, but worldwide. Work from home and the fintech has been adopted as a norm. I believe that such a norm will continue, whatever may be the circumstances there. It's going to stay even after pandemic subside completely, but rather it will accelerate and catalyze the entire economy. At least I can say it can be said surely for the fintech sector. As per the statistics published by NPCI, there were about 150 million active users of UPI in 2020, 50% increase on a year-to-year basis. The total number of digital payment transactions have crossed 2 billion. The debit and credit card are more than 950 million numbers. That is more than 10% increase on a year-to-year basis. More than 3 million Bharat QR are currently deployed, while on one side, financial institutions are adopting fintech solutions to embrace digital way. The malicious activities have also increased many fold there. As per the data available on the CERT website, there were 1350%, more than 1000% malicious activity during the pandemic period of the last 6 months, and the cybercrime, particularly relating to digital transformation or the digital penetration. With the increase in the financial transaction relating to UPI breach, ATM cards, also were witnessed in showing a significantly upward trend. The new cybersecurity risk in such an environment as emerging, or after all, is a unique characteristics of the digital sector to monetize everything from data to stolen card, password, etc. Some of the cyber threats which are being faced by the fintech companies, startups, and the users on a very regular basis include the malware attacks. Hackers design malware customized to the nature of transactions and breach the system and gather critical information. The malwares are designed looking at the UPI transactions, looking at the ATM and credit card fraud, phishing and wishing is a normal norms when we talk about the financial ATM cards are there. The next kind of issues which are being faced is the data breach. Most of the fintech player and the customer, they store data such as card details, user password, credential at all in the respective platform, website. It can be a mobile phone. That's a common practice to store the data passwords on the mobile phone, PIN number and the mobile phone. A small breach may lead to leakage of sensitive information or sensitive financial data. We often download the apps without understanding the genuineness and the security risk of that particular app. We don't know much details about the app there. And this is true particularly with the younger generation there. And every app is a norm. They take the data, whatever is stored in the system, including those PIN detail, credit card number, passwords, and everything, they take it away. As I said, it's a norm to monetize the data, and that information can be leaked also time. Most of the information are available on the dark web, on dark net, which is sold. The third kind of a risk very often is a cloud environment security risk. Improper configuration of the public cloud systems and of the service provider facilities, the hackers it facilitates the hacker to gain easy access. Clouds are not what we imagine the cloud there. Everyone hosts their system or everyone take the VM from the service provider. But it passes through from my phone, my device to the cloud, it passes through several kind of interfaces. One first prominent interface is the service provider, and then the cloud, and then is a return and there. Weaknesses in the interfaces, vulnerabilities in the hardware and software, any on the path, anywhere in the path can create a problem. We often say that our information is encrypted, but mind you, the information is decrypted at every interface and then encrypted. That poses a problem depending upon the security of the system, what has been implemented. So cloud environment, though it has many advantages, but then if it is not configured properly, if it is process is not taken properly, it can create a big risk. Application security weakness, that's a third kind of a thing there. Hidden vulnerability in the application design and could attack cyber attacks. Most of the time, we don't test our application. I mean, if you look at the SME sector or a retailer, they buy the application from the source. They don't have appreciation that application security is a must. They don't look at the tests or the security verification which the vendor has done it. They apply it. That application, when it goes to the system, that can create a vulnerability and can be a source of the breach or source of your risk, what you carry. The next one is the weak security passwords, both at the service provider and the individual users. Friends, I can tell you very clearly, it may not be suitable to many, but if you are not able to secure your own system, rest assured the service provider are not going to bother about it. We all operate on a L1 basis, lowest cost basis. We try to cut corners. And the service provider and the cloud or anyone else whose system you are accessing will not be able to build the security if you are not very particular. I've seen in case of UPI, what is a transaction? For my mobile phone, it goes to service provider, it goes to the bank goes to NPCI and the root. So many interfaces are there, so many breaches have happened. One weak point at this chain, it will create a problem. And we have seen, number of cases we have seen how the systems are breached, how the information is stolen. The hackers are using the artificial intelligence and ML tool for exploiting breaches and harvesting the information which are caused by a variety of factors, some of which I have described. Hackers are becoming more sophisticated and difficult to trace. Attribution becomes very, very difficult. Today morning, itself, one of my colleagues had a problem in Kolkata. His information, it was stolen and a lot of transactions went away from it. And the case is 6 months old. The police inspector, he informed me, sir, you telephoned to about your friend. We are not able to help him. 90% of the cases are like this because we are not able to attribute, forensic things are not there, skill is not there. At the end, the data is lost, the financial losses happen there. The data relating to malicious activities gets wiped out. That's another thing. Today, the malwares are designed. If you try to catch it, they are all AI enabled, artificial intelligence enabled. If someone tries to tamper it, or someone tries to check it, it wipes out and completely destroys it. We have heard in the physical system, the terrorists taking a cyanide and just killing themselves. The same thing we have seen in the area of the hardware and software and security also. Friends, with the growth in the fintech, more data is available, which is analyzed using the big data technique instantaneously. But that also makes it more susceptible to the security breaches. Some of the data include personally identified information and financial and health related information of a customer. Managing digital identities of the individual is a major challenge as organizations aim to provide an integrated omni-channel experience to user by extending host of banking, wealth management, and payment services in a seamless fashion. I don't want to disclose, but one of the famous journalist, news personality, she telephoned sometime in the morning about a year ago, and she said a lot of things has happened and a lot of information has been stolen. She was quite terrified. When I sent someone to investigate the matter, I found that all her devices were linked with a single password. I have seen in case of a large telecom service provider, government telecom service provider, right from Kolkata to Rajmundry to the other areas to Trivandrum, all routers, big routers, backbone routers were managed by one password. Yeah, you will say, what is this password the router has to do with your fund fintech transactions there? Friends, the router is routes the information. Ultimately, any fintech kind of access will have to pass through the backbone and routers there. I can divert the traffic and interject the traffic there. That's all can be done in a seamless fashion there. Friends, the fintech service providers are considered to be the torch bearer in the digital financial service industry, particularly in the post-COVID world. It has the potential to bring transparency in the economy. However, cybercrime and cyber attacks are a clear hindrance to the financial technology market and digital financial transactions. Fintech firms need to build a strong cyber resilience system inside and outside their organization to weigh the risk. Ultimately, owners rest on the individual entities. The individual entities need to be very, very careful. My experience is that much more need to be done to educate the users, to educate the telecom service provider, to educate the fintech service provider. Mind you, the 200 best fintech companies in the world are developing solutions in India and marketing solutions from India. So India is a great leader in when we talk about the fintech, but the security risks are also looming large on all of us. I'm sure the seminar will a good kind of a steps to create awareness among the user masses, among the telecom service provider, among the fintech service provider, and collectively we will make this sector more robust and enhance the resiliency of the entire system. If the users are sufficiently they are told about the pitfall of the security risk, what securities they can face it, and I'm sure the digital transaction or the financial transaction is the way, is the 21st century things to be there, and we will have a much better productivity and efficiency in our day-to-day operation. I thank Aujas for inviting me and in making some intervention. And I really feel thankful to Aujas also on the ground that I'm sharing dice with the two great personalities. Thank you very much.
Dr. Gulshan Rai, I have to say, and I owe to you a big thank you for enlightening my audience with your expert thoughts on the subject, such a veteran that you are. Well, on that happy note, it's now time to introduce Mr. Sameer Shelke. Well, he'll be delving into the topic of automating cybersecurity for the fintech sector. Well, the co-founder and chief executive officer of Aujas Cybersecurity, he has more than 3 decades of experience in cybersecurity and, of course, information technology. Well, he is an active member of the Forbes Technology Council, ladies and gentlemen. Well, Sameer has also held several technology and business leadership positions and leads the high-performing teams to conceptualize, to manage, to implement complex, very complex security services and solutions. It's time that I give the virtual microphone to Mr. Sameer Shelke.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining today. I'm going to talk about cybersecurity automation in this session. And while this is a topic which is top of the mind for all of us in cybersecurity and controls, what I want to focus on this discussion is the implementation aspects of cybersecurity automation. So, as I said, it is something which is top of the mind for everyone. It is what we call as writing on the wall. We hear amazing technologies come to light, be it security orchestration, automation response, threat intelligence, use of machine learning, artificial intelligence, robotics, and all of it are great technologies which are currently being used, some mature, some maturing, in the way cybersecurity is handled today. It's definitely something which we are seeing coming up in a big way. It is something which we will see being implemented in the marketplace, in our organizations on an ongoing basis. So that's a given. It's something which we are seeing. Now, what I really want to focus on is, and that's what Aujas does as engineers of cybersecurity transformation, is how to make it work in our customer locations and environments, right? So that's essentially the focus of this conversation. Before we get into that, let's talk about why is automation such a big thing in cybersecurity? Because the benefits of automation are extremely important for us to understand in the cybersecurity world. So let's talk about basic 5 elements why automation is of great use in cybersecurity. The first one being accuracy. Now, humans are the weakest and the strongest link in security. We all know that for years. Now, mistakes, or what we call human errors, is one of the biggest challenge we all face when we implement controls and manage controls. And hence, if machines are able to accurately do repetitive tasks, That's a big achievement for us, and hence accuracy is definitely one of the areas of improvements or benefits of automation. So that's one. The second obvious one is speed, especially for predictable tasks, for analytical tasks, for automated tasks. The speed at which machines can operate in an efficient fashion is definitely, in a key as a benefit, and that's the reason why it is number two, of course. The third thing being scale. One of the biggest challenges we have is amount of data security tools and controls generate, and hence the amount of noise which is there for us to find out what is really important for us. So that scale of operation is something machines and automation can really achieve in a very good way for us, and decipher information which can then be used by humans for decision-making tasks. So scale is the third important thing, of course. The fourth thing being consistency. One of the challenges we have as we manage controls and do risk protection measures is to be consistent all the time. I mean, the bad guys have to get it right only once, while we have to get it right all the time. And hence, consistency of response, consistency of what we do is extremely important, and which is why, again, machines can be a great tool for us to do that work, and automation in consistency would be a big advantage for us. And the final, possibly the most important one from a human perspective, is being skill efficient. Now, we all know that security skills are the biggest shortage all over, and hence using the skills which are available to do the right things, which are important, which needs creative thinking, out of the box thinking, needs that specialization, is very important. And hence using machines for things which can be done by them and leaving us time and energy and skills to do what we can do better is what I call as skill efficiency. So these 5 things really, which is accuracy, speed, scale, consistency, and skill efficiency, are the big reasons why cybersecurity automation is the top of the mind and the trending topic today. So the question comes up, right, is if that's the case, why is that it is not mainstream as yet? And it definitely is not to do with availability of technology. We talked about in the previous slide about some great technologies being available, from SOAR to BAS to threat intelligent feeds and stuff like that. So all of them are great technologies. What possibly is missing is how to make it work in our environments. And that's where the next point of what we call as human factors come into play. Human factors is a larger topic which deals with basically how humans deal with processes and machines and tools. And that's a larger subject, of course, but in context of this conversation, I'm looking at that one topic is to how do humans and machines interact? And that human factor is important for us to understand. It is important to understand so that we can use that to make implementation choices so automation can work for us. And that's essentially what I'm trying to discuss here. So first of all, I think if we look at machines and look at humans in a very simplistic form, what is that we are good at? So machines are definitely good at repetitive defined tasks. Machines are really good at complex computations, and machines are really good at multitasking. By definition, that means that those are also the 3 things humans are not as good at. I mean, we do believe we can multitask well and so on and so forth, but the fact is, for us to compartmentalize and do things in an efficient, consistent form is always time dependent or situation dependent. But if you look at a machine, it can be repetitive, it can be very consistent, it can do complex tasks, and it can multitask. So that's clearly an advantage where machines are better. You look at the human aspect in human factors, what humans are better are adapting to the unknowns. And that's essentially is where we know the context better, we can relate to the context, we can have experiences which we can use, and hence adapting and course correction to handle unknowns is something humans possess, which machines don't. The second thing is about creative thinking, finding ways to do the same things better given the specific context and the specific environment. Creative thinking out of the box is something humans do extremely well. And the third most important thing possibly is relationships. Now, of course, machines can make it pleasant to interact, can give enough data to interact, but when it comes to building relationships, machines definitely can never match up to what a human can do, right? So building relationship creating those connects is something humans are really great at. So if you look at human factors as to the relationship between humans and machines, and this things is very important for us to understand as we look at implementation of automation technologies in real world as far as cybersecurity is concerned. So that's the essence of what we do as a company. When you look at our automation methodologies, we look at how we automate cybersecurity for our customers through our cyber defense centers. We look at technologies, we look at amazing technologies which are available and make them work using human factor models. We call that human-centric automation. And to explain this point, I want to take two examples of automation as to how one can automate specific functions. Two very, very simple examples. The first one is security operations. Now, this is obviously the whole area of incident analytics, analysis, incident response, SIEM operations, and whole gamut of things, which we all do on an ongoing basis. If you look at security operations, and at a simplistic level, if you plot as to how a security operations specialist, for example, spends his or her time, you would see something typical like this. And I'm calling it relative time because I'm going to relate it to the other example I'm going to give. So if you look at that time spent, obviously there is time which is spent on data collection and processing. So obviously data coming from security feeds, data coming from tools and devices and SIEMs and stuff like that. The data is obtained, the data is processed, and then the operator then applies expertise on top of it. Once that is done, then the operator defines or executes defined runbooks and processes to do his or her job. If you look at that's typically the time which is being spent, and it's clearly, we know this, that in security operations, you do a lot of more repetitive tasks, you do a lot focused on processes. That is possibly the largest area we spend time on. There's obviously an element of research, which is research is not finding something new, but looking at what can be applied in that specific situation, looking at other examples and things like that. Then there is, of course, an element of stakeholder interaction when it comes to talking to different functions. There is all of groups management and so on and so forth. There's obviously a function of reporting, and there's also a function of team collaboration. Now, when I say team, it could be folks in other shifts, it could be folks from other security towers and so on and so forth, because security operations is a fairly collaborative job, so to say. So if you look at the percentages here, this is a relative time spent in these areas. Obviously, all of them totaled up to 200 from a relative perspective, right? So that's how time is spent on security operations. Now, let's look at an element called automation index, which is, on a scale of 1 to 5, 5 being it can be automated the most, and 1 being the automated the least. If you look at that kind of a scale, one can plot an element like this, where one would say that when it comes to data collection, that can be automated really well, because we have the technologies available. It is very deterministic on where the alerts are going to come from, so that can definitely be automated. We can also process the automation side of things, because those algorithms which can be built are built already, where it can be processed. Applying expertise, this is typically the area of a human playing a lot more role, a little more role. Of course, this is improving as well as we have orchestration technologies, etc., coming into play, but they definitely, humans play a little more role in that area. Again, when it comes to process following, again, can be automated in an extremely good way. Contextual research is not as well automated. Likewise, when it comes to reporting, yes, it can be automated. When it comes to stakeholder interactions, not as much. Team collaboration, again, is a function of how human relationships and how we really work with them. So if you look at the level of or degree of automation as an automation index in all those functions, you can see what can be automated. And that's where you take an automation technology, take a process, and use human factors to determine what is the level of automation possible, and look at what I'm calling as a cumulative automation index. Let's say on a scale of 1 to 5, security operations falls in a 3.25 kind of a range. This is one example of applying human factors and on a typical cybersecurity function. Now let's take another example in our world, which is on application security validation. Now, this is the whole area of penetration testing, code reviews, and what have you. Now, if you take that as an example, again, from relative time spent of similar tasks, there is obviously a notion of data collection, which is identifying of the assets we want to test and the targets, so to say, we want to test. There's also an element of processing, which is understanding the landscape of what are the available targets you want to go after, and so on and so forth. But you notice here that, and you would agree with me, that application of expertise is far higher in this space, where we need to understand the threat models, we need to understand the threat vectors, and we need to understand where the ingress and the outgress points are and where the vulnerabilities lie, and so on and so forth. Obviously, there are tools and techniques available for this as well, but here the human expertise is applied a lot more, and the time spent is a lot more as well. Of course, there is process adherence, but not as much as compared to, let's say, a security operations area. Another area where there's a lot more time spent is on research, because again, contextual application of knowledge with the current environment, the current, let's say, for the application code, the vulnerabilities, etc., is very, very contextual, and hence that research element has to come in there. A big difference you see here is on stakeholder interaction as opposed to reporting, because here the tester essentially interacts with application development teams and makes them understand what the findings are, what the remediation mechanisms are, and so on and so forth. So that's a big area of focus here. Not as much on team collaboration, because it's generally a fairly contained kind of an environment. There are no shifts, etc. typically gets involved. So if you look at the relative time spent on a function like that, and then plot the automation index again on a scale of 1 to 5, we would see that it's a little different. There is obviously data collection can be automated to a fair degree, but when it comes to applying expertise, it is not as much. Now, of course, there are breach attack simulation tools and testing tools and so on and so forth. But when it comes to complex algorithms and it comes to complex code, it's not really there yet. The expertise really come into play in that area. Likewise, yes, processes can be automated. Reporting, it definitely can be automated, but it comes to contextual research, when it comes to stakeholder interaction, specifically with the application development organizations, that is relationship based here. So that cannot really be automated. So if you look at how the automation index plays in a function like this, it is slightly different. And obviously the level of automation possible in a function like that in relative terms is much lower. So the whole point here being that their automation is here. I mean, and especially in cybersecurity, for the areas we spoke about in terms of the benefits it gives us, it's a given. It's something we're going to see in a large scale way going forward for sure. Technologies are evolving excellently well. And there are brilliant technologies available, algorithms available, technologies which use machine learning, AI, ML kind of stuff, and they are being practically deployed. So availability of technology will only get better. I think we as practitioners have to find ways of how in our organization, the human factors of how we work and how these technologies work, how do they play and coexist. And this example of really talking about each function and what can be automated, looking at a cumulative automation index is extremely important for this whole area to succeed and for us to be better risk managers. We at Aujas, we call ourselves engineers of cybersecurity transformation. Our job essentially is to make these amazing technologies work for our customers and really give benefits what they have to provide. So, that's what we do as a business. That is how we have built our cyber defense center across various domains of cybersecurity. Our delivery engines are including automation as part of what we do. And a big focus of that is on using human factors in addition to amazing technology being available, so they can best serve the interests of our customers. So that's all I had to say. I hope you found it useful. Thanks for joining again. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sameer Shelke. This session was indeed very thought-provoking, and I absolutely mean that. With that, I can't wait, ladies and gentlemen, to move on to the next session, because it's time now for all of us to keep our eyes literally peeled, to have a convincing glimpse out there. Well, we are very delighted to present a short video on Aujas Cyber Defense Center. So all I want all of you to do is to sit back, relax, like we say, and enjoy the video that's coming up right on your screens.
We are living in the times of massive disruption. rapid digitization, always connected culture, and the change in work patterns have become the new norm for businesses worldwide. Digital transformation has changed the way we work, the way we live, and the way we run our business. This has also increased our vulnerability to cyber attacks that keep evolving rapidly, with the increased use of sophistication, stealth, and complexity. Traditional security models are no longer effective in protecting your critical infrastructure and data from the massive damages these attacks can cause to your organization. It is time to transform your cybersecurity to a more comprehensive, scalable, and automated solution which is always one step ahead of a cyber attack. At Aujas Cybersecurity, we have built the next generation Cyber Defense Center. Our global network of world-class cyber defense centers offers completely managed cybersecurity services based on the NIST cybersecurity framework. Be it on-premise, cloud, or virtual, Aujas Cyber Defense Centers located in North America, Middle East, and APAC offer highly advanced services such as breach automation, cloud security, red teaming, access governance, and 360-degree managed detection and response to seamlessly transform your cybersecurity posture and take on the most advanced threats with confidence. We align the brightest cybersecurity minds who leverage highly evolved processes and next-generation technologies to combat every cybersecurity threat to your organization. Aujas cybersecurity expertise includes security automation and engineering teams and an elite group of threat hunters, product specialists, architects, and forensic experts who are always on the front line to monitor and mitigate all known and unknown threats 24/7. The Cyber Defense Centers are driven by Aujas Fusion Engine that integrates all security controls, data points, automates responses, delivering measurable outcomes in minutes rather than hours and days. This enables you to achieve security outcomes such as increased threat visibility, significant reduction in incident response time, increased saving on costs. Aujas Cybersecurity has over a decade of experience, working with more than 1,000 clients across the globe, including financial services, telecom, and technology sectors. Our team of over 700 security consultants with high-end skills in threat detection, incident response, security automation, red teaming, cloud security, security engineering, and more provide round-the-clock protection to our clients anywhere, anytime. Aujas Cybersecurity is part of the NSE Group, which is the world's largest derivative exchange and a prominent player of the global financial ecosystem. As a key partner of the ecosystem, Aujas Cybersecurity works closely with NSC to protect this ecosystem. To learn more about how you can automate your cyber defense and keep your business secure against the most advanced threats, contact us and get started today.
Well, I think we would like to believe that that was an amazingly creative video showcasing the capabilities of Aujas Cyber Defense Center. So I'm sure this moment deserves a good round of cheer and some happy vibes for sure. With that, it's time to steer forward, and I am not letting my audience member go anywhere because it's time to invite our next speaker on board, Mr. Suhas Desai. Well, he will be doing a walkthrough of the Cyber Defense Center and actually explain its capabilities. He is the Senior Vice President and the Business Head of the Managed Detection and Response Practice in Aujas. He is very actively and very passionately involved in developing the strategic and also the tactical growth initiatives to ensure that the practice grows faster and emerges as a dominant player in this very space. He has, ladies and gentlemen, in fact, a vast security domain experience and has held several critical roles across major global technology organizations. It's time that we give the virtual strings of the conversation to Mr. Suhas Desai.
Hi, I'm Suhas Desai. I lead Managed Detection and Response Services at Aujas Cybersecurity. So when we are talking with many CIOs about their digital transformation programs, they tell first thing to us that how I can secure these digital transformation programs. So there are so many devices, applications, new technology generating lot of data, and this data are getting targeted by attackers through various attack channels. How to combat all these attacks and secure client environments? When traditionally people were thinking about SOC, where monitoring was the prime task, now industry is changing towards cyber defense centers, and the cyber defense centers are enabled through offensive security, which covers threat hunting, threat intelligence and forensic capabilities. Then second part is about 24/7 monitoring part, where all the high alerts, medium alerts are reported on priority. Then third one is automation piece. In this automation part, how cyber defense centers can effectively manage, detect, prevent all the alerts in timely manner and help customer to mitigate these attack risks. Another part, there are various platforms, there are various solutions available in the market. At Aujas Cyber Defense Centers, we provide next generation technologies to detect, prevent and protect clients' environment. Technically, when we are planning for the automation for the playbooks, automation for the use cases, automation for log monitoring, dashboard, customization for these dashboards, how detection of these events and analyzing of these events takes place. So everything we are doing in automated fashion. Then another part in cyber defense center is about fusion center. So we have developed our own fusion center, which is helping customers to automate all the SIM use cases, security engineering. Additionally, there is a need of continuous compliance and monitoring of cloud assets, performing 24/7 vulnerability management through cloud environment, that we are doing through our cyber defense centers. Here, from the cloud foundation security to monitoring logs or detecting and integrating applications, devices on the cloud as well as on premises, we are doing this through managed services model. So through cyber defense centers, we are providing these services through our platform, which has enabled over 750 use cases, and there is lot of customization and automation we have taken place. So we will have detailed demonstration about all these pages, what platforms and technologies we are supporting to our customers. Thank you. Hi. In this session, we will see what are the capabilities of Aujas Cybersecurity's Cyber Defense Center. So we are about 140 plus consultants practice, and over 80 plus consultants are certified for multiple technologies related to SIM and SOAR tools. We do offer lot of services in managed security services model. Here we do provide threat intelligence, threat hunting, and forensic services as part of offensive security. Second service we provide is a SIM and security operations. Here most of our consultants, those are operating from cyber defense centers, are working on various technologies. Here 24/7 monitoring and alerts which we do manage from our cyber defense centers. So automation, then a lot of work around threat intelligence, reverse engineering, forensic capabilities which we are operating from our cyber defense centers. Here Our Cyber Defense Center is equipped with various technologies, technology stack like IBM QRadar, Azure Sentinel, CrowdStrike, Palo Alto, Anomaly, Splunk. And we have built our in-house automation platform with help of Secura. This automation platform is helping us to automate all the security incidences, playbooks, use cases, and it is helping lot on the SOAR capabilities as well. And by using all these technologies, platforms and automation, it is possible for our analysts to detect, prevent and secure customers' environments in faster way. Here, one important aspect in our Cyber Defense Center is Fusion Center. This is our own IP. Here, we have developed our Fusion Center by using concept of security automation, security engineering to automate critical things into threat detection and threat management part. Lot of work into automation around playbooks, automation about threat hunting capabilities, automation around threat intelligence capabilities we are doing. So our forensic capabilities are helping customers during incident and crisis management. So whenever incidents are happening, our forensic team is doing in-depth forensic on incident digital evidences and they are coming up with RCA part. So when we are doing lot of work, we have developed about 750 plus use cases which are helping customers to refine rules and alerts, and these are getting good results in automating lot of stuff to detect the attacks. There are various next generation attacks which we are observing, and there is a lot of threat intelligence repository which we are maintaining. There are a couple of hits which we are getting from open source sources, and there are a couple of threat intelligence feeds which we are getting from commercial tools. Our own experience by managing large 2.7 billion per day kind of events where our consultants are analyzing that repository which we are using to have proper threat intelligence, which is helping our analysts a lot. So here there are various stages of cyber defense technologies and how we are helping our customers. So first is on a detection piece. In detection, by using lot of repositories which are enabled by AI and ML, that which we are using these AI ML technologies to detect threats and alert it to clients. Another important piece is whenever we are using these platforms, it is combination of open source, multiple third-party solutions than in-house platforms which we are using for detecting the new age threats. All the false positives and verification of these new age threats which we are doing. So we will see demonstration of these advanced detection capabilities through Aujas platforms in Cyber Defense Center. So here we will see what are Aujas tools which are used for threat detection. This is one of our platform based on Elastic. So here if you see there are heat map for the last 1 hour. So there are a couple of red and critical flags. Similarly, source and destination chart is also here. And if you see downwards, at that time we can see how many locations which we are getting all the attacks and how we are detecting that. So here a couple of other tools also we use for advanced detection. Another example is of Azure Sentinel. So here we are leveraging lot of Azure Sentinel capabilities for the threat hunting. So here if you see there are so many inbuilt queries. So we have built about 199 queries. There are a couple of thousands queries which we can draft here. So one classic example for the no owner mailbox login. So if you see on this, we can go for the run query and view results. So here we are getting entire query, we can run that query and get entire overview on how we can detect attack related to particular query. So this is our advanced detection. There are other couple of techniques which we use. There are couple of other threat intelligence modules which we use for various platforms. So we'll see how we are doing investigation. There are couple of methods which we follow at investigation. So one part here is we do visualization for the raw data. We get lot of raw data from our various platforms and tools. And here there is a heat map, there is a raw data which we use for the investigation. So there are manual as well as there are automation part which we use for the investigation. One part is like we do discovery where the attack has been originated, what are its sources, how it has been happened, and are there any manual investigation also needed, we do that part. So here multiple things which we do as part of this investigation. Second part is like there are inbuilt investigations methodologies also couple of platforms provides, and our cyber defense lab has been enabled through these platforms. So here we will see how we will be doing investigation. So there are couple of incidences logged in our platform. Now we will take one example and we'll see how investigation really happens. What is the visualization for that? So here there are couple of things available in this part. So we can have threat management, and in threat management categories are into incidents, workbooks, hunting. We will take incidences. So here are couple of things, and in earlier part we saw failed login attempts. Now we will see failed login attempts are here. When we click on this, we will get detailed investigation map here. So here what is the severity of that? So for a particular region, what is the severity, what is its status, whether it is assigned to investigate to our analyst, then when that incident happened. So such type of things which we will be getting in detailed way. Now whenever we are seeing that what was the address, then where it was originated, everything which we will be getting in detailed way. Then what was the server name, what was the navigation details, then what are the other timelines and investigation details related to all entities to whom it was assigned, and what is the priority. So that everything which we will be getting it here. Then if there are related incidences also available for particular attack or particular incidents, we can see that as well here. So our next capability in Cyber Defense Center is automation. There is a need of security automation at various levels. One example is playbooks, then automation around use cases, automation around dashboard part. So these are the important features which we need to do in cyber defense centers. Here lot of automation around playbooks which we are doing. So important aspect about automation is incident responses. Whenever there are any incidents are happening, so what is the analysis, how automation can play a role into that. Then another piece is like, and this is a very important piece, how we can do auto containment. Whenever systems are getting hacked, immediate need is to avoid further attack or damage, we need to containment entire damaged or affected systems, and there is an important piece of automation comes in. So that is the one piece here which we are bringing to our customers, auto containment during incident analysis and incident management part. Second piece is like there are so many runbooks, and most of our customers are seeking our help in doing automation about these runbooks. Similarly for the playbooks also. So we do lot of automation. We have hosted our platform in Cyber Defense Center. Through this platform we are helping customers to do automation around runbooks, playbooks, and here there is an important module in our platform is a SOAR. Here lot of automation has been happened, and we are helping to do quick responses in case of incident part. Then here by using this automation technology, attack vector has been minimized in our customer environments. Then there are so many manual processes which bring a lot of reduction. We did lot of automation on the security process automation part. And last and important piece is by using these automations, lot of cost saving has been happened. There were manual efforts in creating processes, there were manual efforts creating playbooks, runbooks, then security incident processes and analysis. That we did automation, and it is bringing value to customer by saving time, quicker incident responses, and it is also helping to save cost. So this is one screenshot. We will see a detailed demo about how we are doing automation and adding help through playbook automation to our customers. So here we will see a lot of automation part. One piece is about how we are doing playbook automation. So this is one platform which we have hosted. This is available in MSSP model, as well as we are providing dedicated instances to our customers. So here there are couple of playbooks which we have developed. So one example we will take, multiple login detected. So once we click on that, here is the automation piece. So if you see what is the condition, then what location for the particular IP is there, then we will see verification of location part. So this entire playbook automation which we have done, and it gives you detailed ticketing system and helping our analysts to do further investigations and automation part. So this is the one example. Now if you want to take reports piece, then we can go in the reports part where lot of actions related to all the playbooks and related things which will come in this platform. So we are helping through runbooks automation, playbooks automation. There are couple of reports also which we can generate. So whenever we are talking with multiple CIOs and CISOs, they tell us that asset discovery, asset management and compliances with 24/7 monitoring is a critical ask from many stakeholders. So when we are talking about multiple assets in cloud environment, how we can integrate these assets on cloud and get all these assets scanned. What are the vulnerabilities in these assets? What are the compliance status? Maybe it is regulatory compliances, maybe organization level compliances. What are the policies? What are the configurations? So they need single dashboard. So through our cyber defense centers, we are providing these compliances requirement very effectively. So one classic example here is like, so when we are doing 24/7 monitoring, at that time we cover all the assets which are in customer environment. We take them as a discover part. We do continuous scanning. We do vulnerability management for that, as well as we give detailed analysis on the compliances part. So whether it may be HIPAA compliances, whether it may be say internal organization policy compliances, then there are couple of part like say SOC 2 compliances. Then if there are ISO related compliances, it covers everything, and we are doing this through our cyber defense centers 24/7. Another important aspect is dashboards can be generated in various format, and these dashboards can be on daily basis, on policy basis, compliance related part, asset related part, and we can categorize all the assets as well. So asset management, continuous compliances, continuous monitoring and vulnerability management plus remediation plan tracking also we are doing, and we are helping few large customers in this space through 24/7 continuous monitoring and compliances. We will see demonstration of this part as well. So when we talked about continuous monitoring and compliances, so this is the classic example. So we have deployed Cloud Prisma. Similarly, we are doing it for multiple customers where 24/7 continuous monitoring and compliances are happening. So in this show demonstration part, so here there are about 1702 assets were covered, and these assets also here we are getting entire status. So about 71% tests were passed, and how many findings we got? There are about 3% findings are there. 21% medium alerts were there. Then there are about 5% alerts, very critical and high alerts are there, and total tests were failed about 487. So when we are seeing this entire compliance dashboard, so you will see compliance coverage also. This is a very important aspect during compliance monitoring. So here it will show for the NIST, for CIS benchmarking, then even APRA plus high trust, PCI DSS, how many tests has been passed, how many tests has been failed, that compliance coverage we are getting. And what is the compliance trend also here which we are getting. So detailed reporting about 24/7 compliances, how many tests has been passed, then you can customize and add your own rule sets here for particular compliances. So this is our 24/7 offering which we are doing. Most of the cloud platforms which we are supporting, so say Azure, then Google Cloud, as well as AWS, which we are supporting for this. So one part is really compliance standards also. What is the description, how many policies which we have added it here. So if you see for the NIST 800, we have policies about 431. Then what is the total one? 1570. How many tests were failed? 444. So this is a detailed analysis which we can provide to our customers through these compliance dashboards. We have 140 plus consultants. Those are continuously working for our customers to secure their environments. Here, large space, we have most of our key partnership ecosystem. So here we work closely with Microsoft for SIEM, SOAR and EDRPs. Then CrowdStrike for EDR and XDR solutions. We work with DNIF for SIEM and UBS solutions. Then ServiceNow for ticketing, we have integrated that with our platform. Then threat intelligence, there are a couple of other partners along with cyber which we work. Then IsoLogic, this is our solution which we are working with IsoLogic for digital risk protection, brand monitoring. Then Secura, this is for threat intelligence and SOAR automation. And IBM Curadar is our SIM platform. So here we are providing our managed security services through this platform. So these are the key partners and ecosystem. So this is our consultants certification part. So we have consultants certified in IBM, Microsoft, Trend Micro, then Palo Alto, then we have Cyber, so CrowdStrike. So couple of technologies which we are doing this. We are managing national critical infrastructure and their cyber defense centers. Generally for 2.7 billion per day kind of events we have analyzed so far. Our consultants are helping with security DevOps, then continuous compliances, then lot of reverse engineering, even forensic analysis for a couple of incidences which we have delivered so far. Thank you.
Mr. Suhas, I think it's a befitting moment that I say a big thank you to you for a detailed explanation of Aujas Cyber Defense Center and the services offered through it. Well, for all the people watching us, I have to let all of you know that it's time to brew more conversations now via a panel discussion. Well, the discussion that would accentuate on, will automation solve the cybersecurity challenge? Well, let's find out the answers, because the discussion would be moderated by Mr. Anil Chopra, the Vice President, Cyber Media Research and Consulting. Well, our much accomplished panel looks like this. We would be inviting Durga Dubey, Global CISO, Reliance Industries. Mr. Dubey, we'll be very happy to be welcoming you on board. We would also be joined by Mr. Samir Ratolkar, the EVP and CISO, HDFC Bank. Well, we'll be happy to be once again inviting Mr. Samir Shelke, the CEO and co-founder, Aujas Cybersecurity Limited. And it would be great to have the presence of another veteran with us, Mr. Shiv Kumar Bhasin, the CTO and COO from NSE. With that, it's over to all you gentlemen.
Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and a very warm welcome to everyone. I am Anil Chopra. I am VP Research and Consulting at Cyber Media Research, and I would be moderating today's discussion on will automation really solve the cybersecurity challenge? And for this discussion, I have with me some very experienced, highly experienced panel I have with me today. I'll quickly introduce them before we start off with the panel. So first we have with us Samir Ratolkar, who is the EVP and CISO for HDFC Bank. Welcome, Samir. We have Durga Dubey, who is the Global CISO for Reliance Industries. Welcome, Mr. Dubey. We have Shiv Kumar Bhasin, who is the CTO for NSE. Welcome, Shiv. And lastly, we have Mr. Samir Shelke, CEO and co-founder for Aujas Cybersecurity Limited. Welcome, Samir.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining me for this discussion. And I think, very important to have a discussion around security automation today, because, no industry is really immune to any cybersecurity threats. But the risk to the entire financial services sector has always been greater as compared to any other industry. And on top of that, I think this entire pandemic has created a far more complex, cybersecurity threats landscape. So even though, cybersecurity has always been top priority for, the sector, the urgency now to address some of these pandemic-induced, so to say, threats is much higher than ever before. And while, there are all these threats and a complex array of threats to take care of, there's at the same time, the sector is completely witnessing and undergoing a lot of transformation, with trends like, for example, open banking or the entire API economy, to be able to open up your applications to partners so that they can kind of work together with you. Rise in digital transactions. All these, have caused a drastic increase in the overall security footprint of the entire financial services sector. Now, I think, is it really time to kind of reimagine the security outlook and, adopt some of the new solutions to meet some of these new challenges? Is automation the answer? Is something else the answer? I think we want to have a discussion around, some of these aspects today. So let me start off with Sameer from HDFC. I think the pandemic has caused a massive switch to remote working culture and digitization, so to say, right? Both of which have kind of resulted in so many cybersecurity threats and increase in the volumes. So, what is really the impact, do you think, of these pandemic inflicted attacks on security? How has the risk outlook really changed, Sameer?
Right. First of all, thanks for having me here, Anil. And I think you said the context very well. You have covered almost from A to Z of the gist of what a CISO can think of. So I think, we are completely in unprecedented times. I remember exactly a year back, maybe 13 months back, when we decided that we won't be coming to office from tomorrow, and we'll have to all need to work from home. So this is applicable not only to employees, but largely to, this has affected the business model substantially well. Just I'll give you one simple example of a call center. The call center folks who ideally were stationed in the bank's call center addressing the customer's queries, suddenly, they decided, boss, I can't go to office now, and I'll have to work from home. Imagine the decision in 24 hours, right? But where the customer goes, customer transactions probably, of course, it took a little bit of hit. In fact, the online started more, but offline took a little bit of hit. But then customer grievances, customer queries were supposed to be addressed as, the pre-COVID or pre-lockdown. There was no change in that. Revenue streams. So the business wanted collections. Another beautiful example. The collection people, which were actually the fleet on the street folks, they primarily can't move, but the collections can't be affected because that's another important source of your revenues. So I think taking these two examples are the pretty relevant and important examples for the lockdown. It sparked or it created a lot of pressure on the business people for the revenue generation and to increase the balance sheet, which naturally added the pressure on the information security team, to my team, to me personally as a CISO, because the pressure on the cloud increased substantially. Right? Am I audible?
Yeah.
All right, because I can't see Anil's video, so I ask. So, Anil, you're there?
I'm here. I'm able to hear you.
Okay, wonderful. I'm sorry for that. So, so the point I was trying to make is, so the focus ultimately was increased on digitizing the processes. Okay. And two examples I gave you about the collections. One, second being the call center employees. Naturally, when we talk about digitization, the fundamental shift happened among the business leaders was to take bank to the cloud. So cloud was the major focus area for the last 12 to 13 months for our bank. Naturally, when the cloud was the focus area, the risk management focus was pretty much there, because we being the conservative bank, we did not want to lose the focus on the risk. So which, put the focus on us as employees. So assessing the risk out of the cloud in a time-bound manner, giving them the timely approvals or rejection. At the same time, the pressure on the revenue generation was pretty high. So to answer to your questions, I think it was a tough time. The cloud was the focus. You have rightly covered the API, the open banking, which anyway is a part of the cloud because it warranted a lot of fintechs opening up, again, the cloud-based offerings. So API between fintechs to all, the liability servicing applications, to retail assets-based applications, to card-focusing applications was pretty much there. So I think it was a tough time, addressing or managing the risk reasonably well. So that was a risk landscape which evolved substantially well. Second important point, people realized, the fraudster realized that people are working from home, right? So the best time for them is to send them the phishing emails, social engineering attacks, especially on the EMI moratorium related initiative by RBI, by Government of India, and then trying to get their credentials or trying to force them to download the malicious mobile apps. So we really wanted to target or beef up, fortify our sensitizations, our awareness initiatives. So that was another multi-pronged one of the example of a multi-pronged approach we started. And third, and another important and the last perhaps from my perspective, is about the providing the work from home a dedicated the setup to the employees to work. So as we're speaking, close to 19,000 people are working from home, completing accessing our remote applications. Close to 39 to 40,000 folks are working exclusively on mobile phones. So giving them the complete unbridled access to our applications through VDI VPN solutions in just a matter of time. So we just wanted to kind of be a little cautious while we provide the access to applications. We wanted to monitor the accesses of these folks to find out if the genuine people are accessing or the fraudsters are trying to access. So we make our security operations center, we put them on a super solid alert 24/7, so that if any brute force attacks are happening, if any dictionary attacks are happening, trying to hit our applications, we are safe. So we carried out a lot of red teaming activities internally and externally to make sure that our work from home setup is secure. So 3 points. First one, securing work from home applications so that this evolving risk is addressed reasonably well, and there is no blind spots on the work from home applications, work from home technology, work from infrastructure. Second point, addressing the employees, addressing the customers to make them aware about the phishing, wishing, and those social engineering attacks, including the malicious mobile downloads, and monitoring the rogue mobile applications through your dark web monitoring vendors, through your application monitoring vendors. And third, as I said, which is a massive out of these two, is about the shift to the cloud. So managing the risk in the cloud in terms of encryption, decryption, managing and making sure to convince the business about the need to have the keys with us, bring your own key as a concept, for example, as one example, or convincing them about creating your landing zone, managing the API security in terms of API injection, API related cross-hacking attack, because we largely use the REST APIs these days. So these are some of the large three prominent changes we have witnessed and we have handled.
Thanks, Samir. I think very well said. I think those sum up in the 2-3 points that you have done: cloud-based security and the entire remote work culture. I think some of these are very, very relevant. I'll move to Durga Dubey. Can you just give us your viewpoint on how has this risk outlook really changed? How has the pandemic really changed the risk outlook according to you?
Yeah, thanks, Anil. Pandemic actually has accelerated the digital transformations across the industries. Every organization you see, there are 2-3 dimensions. I would rather make it 3 dimensions. One dimension is their B2C dimensions. Another dimension is their B2B dimensions. Another dimension is the B2E dimensions, business to employee dimensions. If you look at B2C dimensions, where banks and financial services, they had a massive presence. And I think, in my opinion, both as a customer and as a regulator for 20 years, more than 20 years, I feel that bank has solved that problem. Because I have personally, as a customer, I have not gone to my branch for the last 15 years. I don't know who is my branch manager. When I was in school, my father told me that whenever you go to a bank and open an account, you should first go and meet the branch manager. So I don't know who is my branch manager, and I have no complaint about the branch. So the remote banking is kind of solved. So the only problem was in this pandemic is that maybe 90% of the people were coming remotely. Now in pandemic, 100% people came to the remotely, and the managing that infrastructure, sizing the infrastructure is something which bank has to take care immediately in a shortest possible time. That's one important thing. Coming to the B2E, what Samir told rightly, employees, bank was very particular. Everybody used to go to the bank, they reach the office at time, all sort of things. Suddenly it so happened that employees were supposed to work from home. When they start work, not from work from home, work from anywhere. When they start work from anywhere, and that happens suddenly, then you have so many challenges. Challenges like, first thing is infrastructure. So whether your remote infrastructure, your VPN infrastructure is resilient enough to accept such kind of load, number one. Number two is, since it happens so quickly whether it is secured or not, because all of us know how to secure a VPN infrastructure. But suddenly there are a lot of business pressure. It has to happen immediately. Whether security will do all sort of things what is required for to secure a remote infrastructure. So that becomes a challenge. Every CISO will relate to themselves. They would not tell that what exception they have given. They would have given few exceptions here and there to make business work. So that was one of the challenges. And another challenge there, the challenge which is very related to this, which Samir also has told, there is something which is called a very stress-induced inactions. If you look at people who are working from home, who are supposed to go to office, there are a lot of stress. I mean, it's stress like anything. I mean, I for one work, we for one rather, we for all work 7 days in a week. Nothing, no control on our timing. So it's what happens that in such kind of stress, you do a lot of inactions. Inactions means you may click here and there. You may try to find out that how to boost your immunity, and then finally land up in a place where somebody is there to fish your credentials. So what Samir told is like, I also agree that a lot of mystery shopping, lots of anti-phishing activities is required to be done to the employee side, and bank, they are supposed to do it for their customers also. So that is one thing which is very important. One has to do that, and that risk has gone off. And the third one is very important, is the B2B. You have control on yourself. You don't have control over the partners. So as I know, the banks, they have a lot of relationship with their partners. And some of the partners are, I know for sure, things would have changed. I have not kept myself pace with the development. There are few partners that are not very technology savvy. So suddenly bank cannot stop them. Bank cannot say that, no, we will not do business with them. So somehow they have to adjust things there. So those partners, there the maximum risk comes. Something like card personalizations, something like so many things. Bank have a lot of vendors. Bank is very dependent on vendors. So those things creates a lot of problem. There only the risk is very, very important. And another thing which is important, which let me say it here. I have no problem in being quoted because I am no more a RBI person. Because the inspectors come this time, they would always like to come on board, come to the office, because no inspections happen remotely. Very rarely the strict inspection can happen remotely. And that is again a constraint. With all sorts of things, managing the regulator is becoming a big problem. I'm talking from a good point of view. I'm not telling that they create hassles, but I'm saying that a regulator has to do their own thing. But with these constraints on the banks, again, managing the regulations and giving them the compliance become another complex thing which has to be managed. And I think banks have been managing that well. I think till now, this is my thought.
Thank you so much. I think a very relevant point. Besides tackling a lot of the security issues, I think regulatory compliance becomes extremely critical. Yeah. And as you rightly said, that regulator is very difficult. How do they really kind of do any kind of adherence or kind of come and do the auditing if they can't really come to the office? So yeah. Very, very relevant point. And I think a lot of points we've agreed to on what Samir said. So let me move over to Shiv. I think, Shiv, you've kind of heard a lot of these points that Samir and Durgaji has said. Just to kind of, maybe if you want to add something to that, but more than that, would be really, interesting to know, whether traditional and manual, mechanisms, are they really sufficient for evaluating a lot of these new risks that are kind of coming in? And to look at, as Durgaji mentioned about the regulatory compliance and all that, and preventing threats from causing damage. What are some of the limitations that you see from these two trends and some of the solutions that they talked about, the risks that they talked about?
Yeah, I think you're very much right. As the other two panelists have mentioned, that as the digitization has grown rapidly and work from home has become the reality, even if there was initially some learning curve, some struggle to roll out timely manner these frameworks and technologies to all the staff members. But I think the challenge is bigger once the users adopt it, and and various kinds of alerts while you are having in your security operation center, when the organization prescribed devices are given to the users, and then that in a control environment people are receiving the alerts, and while now the entire field is open in spite of having the cloud-based security, multi-factor authentications in place, still it opens up a various alerts. You need to reconfigure your monitoring tools to receive the alerts. But how much is the too much, like where how much you need to monitor manually, and what sampling you should do, or how much you will you will like to do scanning manually. That is very bandwidth kind of a question, and that's where again you have to rely on the automation and leveraging the bots and leveraging the mapping those various business services. We call it like a mapping the services with the operational dashboards, which is we can say the popular name is ITOM, that where you have to map these various alerts and which are segregated with respect to various important services, be those are related with the logins, be those are with the MDM devices which have been released as part of the work from home, or be it is the people are connecting via the cloud security to your networks and from their own personal devices. So how various kinds of alerts are getting captured, where there's a threat now, people are coming from their own personal devices and various SMB ports which are required for running the various applications in your internal environments. How do they clash, and what level of scanning you need to do, and a lot of times you have given we give access to our vendor partners who are monitoring our various kinds of infrastructure remotely. And so how to distinguish between any unauthorized admin privileges or admin accesses by them versus any of these users. So automation is definitely is there helping out, and because in a day, suppose now people are more frequently, because as more and more the multi-factor authentications and all are coming, but still the first factor authentication, which is user ID password, and as the password construct is becoming complex, like moving from the 6-digit to 8-digit, 8-digit to now 12 digits. So people are forgetting as well the passwords more frequently, and that password reset requests or password unlock requests are also growing. And even if there are self-service, but there are within the shadows of these kind of requests, there are some unauthorized accesses are also coming through. How to filter them out? So for such areas, definitely the point I'm trying to drive is automation is helping, and it is detection, time to detect. It is the most important thing, is that for the time you receive any such attack, and identifying first of all it as an attack, and then reacting to it, really the tools and automations are helping a lot. And the second one of the key area because of all these is now the ransomware, as the and that is the new normal again, that people are having threats that whether I am keeping my when people are trying to access, like especially your infrastructure staff is now accessing the, even through PIM, they are trying to access your, all the servers and other network element infrastructure. How they are being prevented from the ransomware attacks, as well as how are we keeping various, nowadays all the systems are, whether it is databases where there are Linux servers or Windows servers or virtual, machines or the cloud, private clouds, they all are mapping to the, ultimately to the SAN. So whether we are having, right level of database or these file system backups at a different, mechanisms to be used. So, so that the, even for preventing for such kind of attacks, you can restore the systems much faster. And again, detecting, these isolating such servers from the rest of the ecosystem. So tools are definitely with all these examples, I'm trying to drive the point is that automation is very necessary, and latency to detect is, can be reduced only by the tools and automation. It is not possible otherwise. Even if you have a very well-staffed SOC, it will be very difficult to get those proficiencies from your SOC staff. And further, it is very important that these mitigations get implemented, against zero-day attacks and various things. In spite of using the Office 365, like most of us are now on Office 365, or using various SaaS tools, be it as a IT ops, be it as a HR or finance systems. So all of them are now SaaS tools. So against, and all of them have those various security provisions built in. But how to ensure, these detection of these attacks and mitigations are rightly put in place. And we are leveraging various kinds of bots for preventing such attacks. And the point is, automation is, I would conclude it as automation is the key for given so many now the entry points are there to your environment. So automation is the key to detect any such threats.
Thank you so much. I think, very well articulated, and I heard so many different things come in terms of, new threats, new devices. So I heard that because of working from home, maybe a lot new devices are coming in. Passwords are getting more complex. So reset password becomes very important. And, time to detect, latency, you cannot afford to have any latency in that. So I think you kind of really highlighted very well, that some of the new, ways that, things are happening on the network, how the network is becoming more complex, and therefore driving the need for automation. Thank you so much for articulating that. I'll come now to Sameer. I think, you'll probably be able to give a good overview on, this in terms of some of the limitations that you are seeing in the current traditional and mechanisms for evaluating risk. So you want to kind of elaborate on that?
Sure thing. So first of all, it's a pleasure to be on the panel with our esteemed colleagues and friends. Excellent points made by everyone in terms of the risks as well as need for automation, etc. I'll add a couple of things to this from my perspective. So first is, I think whether it is now or any other time, the fact is that against adversaries or against the bad guys, we have a big problem that they have to get it right only once, and we have to get it right all the time. So that precise is the problem we have. The second thing is, funny enough, when I think of it, the bad guys have always worked in the way we are working now. For example, we talk about work from home. The bad guys have always been attacking from anywhere. So they've always been virtual. The bad guys have always used automation and virtual collaboration. So which is why you've seen bots, etc. happening. So the fact of being virtual, the fact of attacking from anywhere, fact of being automated is something the bad guys are already doing against us for some time now. What we're doing essentially is trying to counter that from our perspective, because as risk managers, we have our limitations on a structured way of doing things. We need to know our assets, we need to know our regulations and rules and stuff like that. They don't follow any rules, right? So if you look at that specific environment, the need for us to sort of adapt, I won't use the word change to the risk management posture, but really adapt to this new way of what we are facing is most important. Now, the adapt piece is about how we can, quickly change and how we can look at stuff and so on and so forth. Automation is one element of that, where the whole issue is we are faced with a scale of activities coming to us. We are faced with an issue of us trying to make it right all the time. So accuracy is important. So handling scale, being accurate is important. Third thing, of course, is the fact that skills in cybersecurity space are always limited. And as businesses grow and as organizations grow, those skills are always a challenge. So if you look at those three elements, the scale piece, you look at the element of getting it right all the time, which is accuracy, and third thing is on the skill side of things. All these three point towards the fact that we need to have automation in some form deployed in doing our risk management, in addition to traditional measures. The last point I'll say is, while automation is obviously a good way to do this, and there are amazing technologies which are being released in the market right now, the most important thing is to practically get it done. I mean, you really don't want one more set of tools in addition to what we have and deal with that challenge. It's very important for them to work in the right context, and hence using those amazing technologies to make them work for us, I think is possibly the most important thing than having access to those technologies.
Thanks. I think very well said. The points about that all the bad guys have always been on, using things remotely. They've always been working in the virtual environment and all that, while we are just kind of getting the hang of it. The industry is getting the hang of it. So obviously they're already one step ahead of us. And relevant about, being able to handle scale, as you rightly said, and having the right skill sets, that's always a shortage. And being able to do it right, accurately detecting all the attacks and all. So, So very well thought. Thank you for, giving that perspective. I'll move now to Samir Ratolikar. And, Samir, what should be the, now, you mentioned a lot of new things as well, cloud and all that. So what should really be the new, approach to security in this new normal, so to say, in the post-pandemic world, which is now much more digital. There is scale, there is cloud, there is so many things. Is automation the answer, or as a practitioner, what would be your view? Can you just throw some light on that?
Yeah, a couple of points. The way this digitization or digital transformation is happening, in my view, the most important things right now should be upskilling and reskilling, right? So I'll give you a simple example, which is a very practical example in our case. If any digital initiative, which is say, a mobility centric, is to be rolled out to consumer, en masse, then the guys need to be trained or need to be aware about the mobile application, mobile device, and a mobile communication related threat and risks, which are again an evolving area, right? Another important point, which of course we discussed during your initial commentary and then later on what I said, is about API open banking. Today, a lot of fintechs and very interesting fintechs are coming up, and we are almost concluding one such deal with one of the known fintechs globally, and shortly you will hear the press release for that. Would be about the payment initiative on cloud. So they will transform your payment offerings. So banking on one side, the payment on other sides, and the amalgamation of payment and banking, on cloud, using mobility, using API calls, etc. So I think clearly you need a fantastic skill sets. You need to have a team which is will be very good about the risks on the mobility, risk in the cloud, risk to the payments, risk to the payment messaging, risk to the payment architecture in terms of where the middleware has to be deployed, what should be the connection to be happen, the risk in terms of managing the compliances to your Aadhaar, where there are multiple connection happening to the Aadhaar through NPCN. Now you will have the new regulations on payments. So I think that is one of the important area. Second point, which of course is the focus of our discussion today, is about the automation, right? In my view, I think, and I think Shiv Kumar also briefly touched on this particular point, is about the dwell time. Today, the success metric for a CISO is about how quickly we are in a position to detect and respond to the attacks. Okay, so dwell time between detecting an attack to respond to attack is going to be the key now and going forward, with this pandemic and the shift to the cloud, what is happening. And if you want to really achieve that success in detecting the attack quickly and responding to it, detect and respond, that particular window, then automation is the key. You can't have manually eyeballing about alert, which is getting triggered, and then talk to guys, to raise a ticket and then talk to him for the remediation. That will take hell of a time. So you need to have that everything goes automatically, right from detection of attack to attack analysis, connecting that analysis to a threat intelligence service provider for URL reputation, or the content reputation, managing to your anti-APT appliance about finding out whether any endpoint has this particular alert trigger or not, going all the way to a security service desk to raise a ticket, then immediately raise alert to your firewall or to your intrusion prevention systems about blocking it. So to extent of blocking, whether you want to do it on a scale of 1 to 10, a complete end-to-end, I don't think so that is possible right now. We are not matured very clearly, but probably 70 to 80% of the automation, at least in my understanding, L1's activity, the basic L1 team, the attack monitoring team or incident monitoring team or event monitoring for that matter, I think that is something is happening. Another important point apart from this level of automation is also about the vulnerability management. Today, the vulnerability management attack surface or the vulnerability attack surface has reached to a level whereby there are the regulatory guideline in terms of VAPT, there are PCI DSS related expectations in terms of application security, your own landscape because of this COVID pandemic lockdown. So there are vulnerability assessments happening, there are penetration testing happening, there are application security tests happening. Everything, all these programs are generating some vulnerabilities or the other, right? Managing these vulnerabilities, carrying out the risk assessment, doing the the prioritized approach and then hitting it manually is impossible. So you need to have the automation, in the vulnerability management space as well, in addition to the incident management, the so-called incident management. Third important area, which in my view warrants automation, is about the routine processes. Today, as simple as I think Shiv touched about the password management. If I lost or forgot the password, right? I'm working from home. Where should I do? I can't call a guy, raise a ticket and he may be sitting somewhere else. So I want quickly, I should be able to have the self-ticketing, self-servicing mechanism, even resolved into my password management, even resolved into my, the bots to carry out my other routine, the operational processes about the credit card request, as simple as the chat bots. Why I want to call a customer, sorry, a call center. I'm accessing on a mobile. I have HDFC Bank's mobile banking app or a HDFC Bank's website. I'm quickly going there. I want a chat bot to take care of my request. So I think bots are another fantastic source or the beautiful front end for solving the query. So I think automation with the lockdown pandemic, when there are very less dependencies on the people, on the person to do the job. These three examples, in my view, are the time for the future. And gradually we'll find a lot of evolutions happening in terms of automation going forward in multiple other areas, including third-party risk management, vendor management. I don't want physically, I can't go. So the vendor audits for cybersecurity, which used to be happening physically on site as part of our relationship, now it is remote. Can I go and audit the vendor remotely? Yes, I can. I have 1,000 of vendors. How can I choose a vendor and how can I automate the vendor management? Another important, interesting area, to take it forward, right? So like some of these, the customer facing areas, I mean, outward areas, some of the internal areas of the control effective measurement, where again the automation is required, and another couple of areas which I touch right now. Last point I want to leave here, Anil, is not only the automation, but we also need to look into the orchestration a bit, whereby, as Samir has rightly said, we have the security solutions deployed, which is probably a monolith or a siloed all along. Perhaps the time has come now to make sure that all those security solutions are integrated with each other, and we can have the meaningful coordination, orchestration happening among the security solutions, so that I get very refined outcome or the refined incident or event to act on. I don't want to act on the garbage of data to look into it. I think these are some of the thoughts from my end. I'm sorry.
Thanks, Samir. I think very well put. Orchestration, indeed, as last point, very critical. I think because security is becoming so complex with so many different solutions. How do you make sure that they're orchestrated properly so that it's all well managed and you get one integrated view to be able to manage the entire security footprint of the organization. And of course, the points around vulnerability management and passwords getting more complex. So very well put. I'll move to Mr. Durga Dubey. You raised that very well point about inspectors not able to come anymore and all. So similarly, what do you think should now the new approach to security be with all these changes that are now happening in the new pandemic? What is your advice? Please unmute yourself. You're on mute.
So there are so many complex things which is happening. One by one I will say. One is all the co-panelists that said about password. I don't have any solution for password, but for sure it is a complex thing. I feel from a concept perspective, we should give more importance to identification than authentications. If we are able to identify a person, we don't need a password even. Why you need a password if I am able to identify a person? So identification should be given more importance than authentications. Authentication should only happen when there is a context and there is a risk. So that is one thing which time may come. It may be very futuristic, but that will only solve this kind of problem. Second thing is, all what we are saying is like when the world of agility, everything is have to be done overnight. So security also should keep pace with the kind of agility, the kind of digital transformations, the kind of microservices-based architecture which is happening. In that case, DevSecOps becomes very important, and security should become the part and parcel of the pipeline. And it is happening that way, but there are issues there. Today, I don't think there is a very proven approach for container security. So the container security is something which has to be seen from a different angle. Today, there are issues around that. I have not seen very matured solution we can do the proper container security. Another thing is, when all of us have been talking about one school of thought is like you would give everybody to come from a remote place, from any device, from any locations, they can log into the company's network. In such cases, the entire data protection has to be thought in a very different way. Your concept of putting an agent in somebody's system and monitor data doesn't work anymore, because you don't have any control on their endpoint. So their endpoint will have, that is their own endpoint. You can't have a intrusive solution there. So entire data protection has to be thought in a very different way. I'm sure Samir would be thinking, I'm taking Samir Selke, must be thinking in that way, and probably could come out with a solution which is not very endpoint centric. But whereas endpoint is very important, but any intrusive solution in the endpoint will miss the forest for the trees. Another thing, when everybody comes through one gateway, there is always a need to look at what is happening in the process. What I call is a real-time risk monitoring. You need to do a real-time risk monitoring so that anything happens, you should be able to know and step up the authentications or do some more challenges That is how things should work. And instead of every time somebody logs in, you ask them a user ID, a password, a second factor authentications, a third factor authentications. Sometimes these are all trade-offs in security, but time has come for us, and COVID has actually taught us that we should think in a different way, that give emphasis on identifications, only challenge the person when there is an anomaly. So understanding the anomaly is very, very important. That is where the role of data science, the role of artificial intelligence plays a very, very serious role here. Then coming to your theme of this panel about automation, I'm a great fan of, I will not use that word automation or orchestrations. I would rather use the word the coordination among the controls. If you look at, I have been evangelizing on thought for the last 1 year, till the time COVID came to existence here. There's something about cyber immunity. In case of human immunity, all the controls inside a human being, they actually do a coordinated actions. Every control, they know that what control is doing, other control is doing. They do a coordinated actions. That is why the human immunity works in a very good way. If you want to take a cue from the human immunity and make cyber security as cyber immunity, then the first and foremost thing is making sure that all these controls, they talk to each other. It's easier said than done. It is very difficult to do, because in case of human being, all the controls are designed by one person, that is Almighty, the God. Here, all the controls are defined by multiple people, multiple vendors, multiple versions. So to have a API or to have some kind of a connectivity between them, coordination between them, it's a challenge. It's not that very easy. And that coordination solves so many problems. One of the greatest problem in security is attribution. Attributing a threat is a huge problem in security. And that happens because of so many complexities in security. That's a great problem in security. Whatever you do in security, attribution is a problem. So that attribution also can be taken care of if your controls are coordinating with each other. So that's something which is very important. For me, I hardly bother for automation. Sometimes some automation in an automated way or in a very mechanized way doesn't solve anything. It has to be well orchestrated, well coordinated. Then only it solves the long-term processes. That's my view.
Thank you. I think good points from your side, especially around emphasizing on the identification and to look at coordination between controls. That's important, and not just automation and attribution. Moving from cybersecurity to cyber immunity. I think some really, really valid thoughts have come from your side. I'll move to Mr. Shiv Bhasin on some of the new approaches in security. I think a lot of now emphasis is happening on DevOps security as well. Because suddenly with digital transformation happening, API happening, DevOps happening, I think there's a need for the team also to start focusing on that. You want to share some thoughts around that on new approaches in security?
Yeah, actually, as this pandemic started, and we had various large programs where not only the in-house teams but the partner teams were also working. So making that much more agile as well as painless, but at the same time making it highly flexible. That we know that 100% people are going to work from home, and if we make it available at any point, at any time, at on any device, that was one of the key objective to go for. And then hence we decided, okay, let's set up the development environment on a public cloud. And only one thing we looked at it, that our source code control systems should be on the hybrid cloud, so that there is a right amount of security is put in place, where the be it is a biometric or be it is a multi-factor authentication using some other out-of-band authentication are put in place, along with the the domain security, So that there your IP or whatever the algos which are being written, those are kept on a hybrid cloud, and they get backed up to the on-premise private cloud-based infrastructure, seamlessly using a single fabric. A lot of the private cloud service providers are having, with the public cloud to build their, hybrid, offering look much more secure and much more lucrative. So while we were working on this setup of a complete development environment along with all the DevOps tools, which bring the best of the agile practices in place, but the security being one of the key focus, we have implemented various levels of tools. Some of the tools who are doing the static code analysis, some of the tools we have deployed which are doing the dynamic code analysis as well. And then whenever the builds are being fired, they are being reported to the developers. And to make the whole thing much more interesting, we made it gamified as well, that using some of the open source tools, where not only the code quality defects, but the security defects with the each code submission were highlighted, that how many code quality defects or how many security defects have been introduced by the code check-in by one particular developer. And that based on that, some of the reward recognition mechanisms were being set up on the dashboard, which really gamified for the people to be now much more careful while checking in the code to the source code repository, where they perform all the checks thoroughly on the developer machine itself before putting it to the build machine. And that actually in turn for us have improved the quality of the deliverables over a period of time, which normally used to get caught towards the end of the cycle, where the entire your development UAT has been approved, and then the security reviews or security code reviews are being conducted, or the dynamic code analysis being conducted with some cloud tools and all. But it piles up like tens of thousands of security findings. So now all those things are getting ironed out early in the development cycle, as well as we are finding the developer knowledge is also improving pretty fast, and their consciousness for the security practices has also gone up. So some of these have been our experiences while using the DevOps with the implemented using the security analysis and performing the analytics on that using the open source tools and giving the valuable insights to the development teams, so they can have a self-realization to be conscious for the secure programming.
Thank you. I think very well said. Very, very important point that, code analysis is no longer something that happens at the end of a cycle, but since it's continuous development, it has to happen dynamically. And, so there's progress happening on that in terms of, gearing up the team to be able to analyze the code in real time dynamically and be able to reward them so that you can identify all the vulnerabilities. So I think that is definitely the need of the hour. We are reaching towards the end of the discussion, so I am just going to switch to Samir, and one last question I'll ask Samir. You heard, all these discussions. So many different points have come across on so many different aspects of security have come out, and it's indeed a very, very dynamic and very interesting area, cybersecurity to be in. What are some of the, security best practices that you would suggest to banks and fintechs for enabling automation, and to ensure that, full security and everything is maintained? What are some of the best practices? Maybe, we can hear your views and conclude with that.
Sure. So, I mean, first of all, I think excellent points made by all the panelists on the landscape. Obviously, the experience as practitioners is coming out very strongly. Of course, to your point about what all can be done is very broad, but I'll limit myself to a point about two things, about automation, one piece, and also around, I think Mr. Dubey talked about the collaboration piece, the integration piece of controls, right? I mean, that in fact is something which I'm seeing happening in the industry last couple of years, where there's a lot of emphasis on integration, where controls work together. And both at customers doing that or implementers doing that, as well as vendors doing that, where there's an integration happening, so things work together, so we have a consistent way things get done, and so on and so forth. So obviously that's a good best practice to have. It has to continue going forward as well, where things work together from a consistency perspective. To our point about automation, right, and how to make that work. So I think one of the challenges we faced in the industry is abundance of technologies and tools. And that's never been an issue. And because security has the advantage of learning from other industries, we have been great at developing amazing technologies and tools. I mean, for example, automation. The car industry and manufacturing industry has been doing automation for years before us. And there are a lot of learnings from there, using which we can build some excellent tools there. The one piece which I think which needs special attention in our world is what I call as human factors for automation. What I mean by that is, the end of the day, right, humans and machines have to work together for this to work in any environment. There are some things machines are great at. There are some things where, for example, look in repetitive tasks, complex tasks, and we talked about L1 activities, etc. Machines are great at that. When it comes to humans, we are great at, in a context. We are great at, creative thinking. And these are very important things when it comes to controls and responses to either incidents or proactive security management. So this combination of making machines work for us by using human, what we are good at in terms of creative thinking, context, etc., is the most important thing. We should not look at automation as one more tool which will sort of solve the issue for us. Put that tool in place and it works. It's never going to happen. It's never happened in the past as well, but it's definitely not going to happen in the case of automation. Aligning that to human factors, aligning that to the context of our organization and what works for us, I think is going to be most of the time which we will spend as practitioners in this space over the next few years in terms of making automation work. I mean, automation is writing on the wall. It is there. We have to use it just because of scale and skills. How to make it work? I think that's where the human factors have to come in. Context of the organizations have to come in, and making it work is going to be the biggest challenge. The solutions are there. Making it work is what our job is now.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I think very well emphasized. I think with so many security tools out there, it's important to have the right integration between those tools, because there's no dearth of tech-end tools available. There's plenty of them that are out there. And automation will not work alone. It is not the silver bullet. It requires human factor to come in to provide the context and be able to use the automation correctly. So very well said. Thank you so much, Samir, for those inputs. I think we've had a very, very, really good panel discussion today. Great insights. And I think, as you rightly said, the practitioners' viewpoints have really been reflected very well from their years of experience. So I think some really good insights have come out of that. With that, we will conclude today's discussion. Thank you so much for all those insights, for sharing all that experience that you have. And I think security is a continuous, evolving area, and that will continue happening. Then I'm sure that we'll keep hearing newer viewpoints in the future on how developments are happening. So thank you so much, everyone, and it has been a great discussion. I'm signing off now, and this is Anil Chopra once again. I hope everyone stays home, stays safe, and I hope everyone follows some of these guidelines around automation and automate your way through security. Thank you so much. Goodbye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you
so much.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thanks
so
all.
much.
Thank you so much.
Well, hearing all the perspectives from the best in business, the leading minds, I must say that this was such an engaging and an empathetic discussion, if I may say so. Well, thank you so much to the distinguished panel for expressing your perspectives on this unmissable aspect that we care about. Thank you to all of you. Well, with that, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to wind up this insightful and a very important event. The last few hours have brought into limelight the critical facts, the critical solutions that must be considered as an imperative for the security well-being of the fintech sector. Well, to express his views through a closing note that's due for all of you, we have with us the co-founder, the whole-time director, and the chief operating officer of Aujas Networks, responsible for the growth of Aujas's services in the emerging markets, including India, the Middle East, and Africa. He also has extensive experience in the risk management, infrastructure management, and managed services. Well, as the COO of Aujas, he is responsible for service delivery, operations, and human resources. It's time and it's an opportune time to give over to Mr. Naveen Kotian.
So with that, we come to the close of a wonderful event. I'd like to thank all the speakers, Dr. Vikram Limaya, Dr. Muralidharan, Dr. Gulshan Rai, for their interesting and insightful keynote speeches on the trends, challenges, future of cybersecurity in the fintech industry. I would like to thank the distinguished panel, Mr. Samir Shelke, Mr. Shiv Bhasin, Mr. Durga Dubey, and so well managed by Anil Chopra of Cyber Media Crime. Right? An event of this scale is not possible without the hard work from the event team, and for that I would like to thank the entire team from Cyber Media. I'd like to thank the Aujas team, Asim and Suhas, and the rest of the team which put this entire event together. The Cyber Defense Center that we are launching, that in India and abroad kinds, represent the best that Aujas has to deliver in terms of cybersecurity capabilities, be it in terms of processes, people, automation, right? Be it in terms of the decade of experience and expertise that Aujas brings to the table as engineers of cybersecurity. I'd like to thank all the leaders at Aujas and all my cybersecurity colleagues who have always been at the forefront, right, in terms of working with clients, working from the front lines, protecting them, delivering the best that we can do even in these trying times. Lastly, security is what I call a Red Queen's game. You have to keep running all the time to keep pace, right? Otherwise, you get left behind kind. As Andy Grove famously said, only the paranoid survive. And that is true whether in business or for cybersecurity. Only if you're running hard and only if you're paranoid about security is when you'll survive, right? So with that, let me thank you all. Thank you for all for joining. Hope you had a good time. Do take care and do stay safe. Thank you, everyone.
Mr. Kotian, thank you so much for those befitting closing remarks. I would like to say thank you very, very much. And the most special thank you is always reserved for my viewers, my audience. Thank you so very much to everybody for joining us for this very exciting event. And as a sign-off note, I, Shikha, would like to say that have a very happy heart set, a happy soul set, and a happy mindset. Cheers and goodbye.